Okay. This is going to be a decode, a long decode, very long, on Rick Ross's song Freemason. And I just decided that why this is going to be long is to piggyback off of this. My original decode was just going to be on Rick Ross's song Freemason, kind of breaking that down a little bit. But then I don't know, I just randomly decided to go in depth on Freemasonry, specifically Jesuit-controlled Freemasonry. I'm going to tie it all in. We may or may not go over his song lyrics. We will a little bit, maybe a line or two, just to point some stuff out, make my points. But I don't know if we'll go over most of it. But um, yeah, Rick Ross's song Freemason. You can look up the lyrics for yourself. Um, if you want to, catch all the information that he's saying. But yeah, so we're just gonna get into it. So Rick Ross's song Freemason is 4 minutes and 7 seconds long. And that's their big number, 47. And, this wasn't an accident. Many artists have done this in their songs. This is nothing new to fulfill numerical rituals. I think I did a decode on Kanye a while back with his album or song or whatever. And something connected with how long this music video of his was, or song. So don't think this is arbitrary. They do this all the time, and this is just another example. But yeah, and then Mason in Jewish gematria equals 211, which is the 47th prime. Masonic compass is set to 47 degrees. And as the Masons were originally builders, like you'll hear Rick Ross talk about in this song, foundation equals 47, and they're about, you got to build a good foundation, right, to build a safe, secure building that's going to last a while. And John Legend was also featured on this song, along with Jay-Z, who we'll get to. And when I saw this, I just laughed because I knew John and Legend both equal 47 in the same cipher. So, and also the Star of David, which is similar to the shape of the Masonic compass and square I'll show at the end of the video. The Star of David can be found on many Masonic temples. Star of David 47. And the G in the middle of the Masonic compass and square I used to think, and what I was taught, that the G in the middle of the Masonic compass and square stood for geometry and God, but more so geometry. But honestly, now after doing my own research, I feel like I think it's really gnosis, as it stands for knowledge, or Gnosticism, but gnosis make more sense. But Gnosticism also equals 47. So, that just makes more sense to me over geometry, or maybe it means all three, Gnosticism, geometry, and God, but Gnosis makes more sense to me, than than the rest, and which I'll get to, I'll explain further, but yeah, geometry, they're also, it could be both, like I said, or all, because they are really calculated, and builders, you gotta be, as you'll hear Rick Ross talk about too, how they're calculated builders, like I said. But to continue, just like, here, I'll scroll down a little bit, just like Luciferianism, which I'll talk more about later, Gnosticism also believes that Lucifer is the true God, versus the God in the Bible, as Lucifer is the one that presented the opportunity to obtain knowledge, specifically to Eve in the Bible. But in addition, solar deity equals 47, and solar deity or solar god like Jesus is personification of the sun, or in a more Masonic sense, Lucifer, because they're both referred to as the morning star light bringers, light bearers, both. So they're both, Jesus and Lucifer are the same. They just one represents one duality, uh, one represents light, one represents dark, or one represents something that's known and something that's hidden. Um, as Gnosticism is occult knowledge, hidden knowledge that's not in the Bibles because the church burned a lot of the knowledge and didn't want it in their literature because, to be honest, it does tell the truth more than what they got in the Bible now. So of course they don't want it in there because really, the Gnostics and Luciferians believe that how Lucifer is the true God, that the God in the Bible is an evil God, which I'll decode later. But so yeah, and that's why the church that just wants people to, the orthodox stuff in the Bible. The church just wants people to follow, just wants to farm the cattle, and they can't. If the Gnostic knowledge was in there, that wouldn't go along with their agenda, which is keep herding the cattle in, herding the cattle in, herding the cattle in, with what's in the Bible now. And so yeah, and I guess that's ultimately why Freemasonry is technically a secret society, even though it's really not. And but it is not known by many that the core of Freemasonry is Luciferianism / Gnosticism. But again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like Jesus, in the Bible, the good guy, the one that brings the truth to the surface, but to the Masons, that's really Lucifer. And, Lucifer, the more hidden, the less talked about, true God to them, at least. And then to some, the more popular, prominent God, Jesus, hidden, revealed. You kind of see what I'm getting at there. It's just they represent each duality, Jesus and Lucifer, but they're really one, the same. So yeah, and back to what I was saying. So as solar deity equals 47, this is significant because the core of Freemasonry, how, I just said Jesus, Lucifer, personifications of the sun, and I explained that. Freemasonry, the Masons in the core of Freemasonry are said to be sun worshippers. And solar deity and Gnosticism are a match in all the base ciphers, and there are 4 base ciphers, so that's pretty concrete. But think about it, knowledge, Gnosticism, what's true knowledge to the Masons, represents illumination like bright, like shining, like the sun. You see how that all fits in. And Gnosticism used to be a part of early Christianity, but like I said before, it got, the church really stepped in and separated it from, what they wanted to do with their cattle herding agenda. But, yeah, in Christian equals 47. And the opening line just to go back, to the sun, all this goes back to the sun because, you can say these different names, Jesus, Lucifer, and we'll get to Apollo and Sol Invictus and all these sun gods, but it all goes back to the sun because the Jesuits controlled the Masons. And the core of Masonry, the true purpose of Masonry is very similar. Is a Jesuit, I guess a Jesuitic uh, you could say religion, essentially. But yeah, they're basically one and the same because the Jesuits own the Masons. Um, and the Jesuits really more so are really the ones that worship the sun. Got one for their logo, and I'll talk about it more. Anyways, the opening line in Rick Ross's song Freemason references the sun with the line, "This is from the soldiers that see the sun at midnight." So I don't fully get that, but I just know it references the sun in the opening line of it. So it just shows, it goes along with what I'm saying. And in addition, Freemasonry, solar energy, and sun worship are all equal 139, a big Freemasonry number. And Freemasonry and solar energy are a perfect match in all four base ciphers. Oh yeah, and then Luciferianism also another 139, because core Freemasonry is Luciferianism / Gnosticism. It's just propping up Lucifer as the true God, the true pure one, and you see how that fits in with the sun. So yeah, and Lucifer, the light bearer, like I said, aka the sun, and Lucifer and Jesus, really the same being, like I said, representing different dualities, the different dualities. And think about the Masonic motto, as above, so below. So as above, meaning what's above the surface, more like something that's more popular, not hidden, like Jesus is, right? And then Lucifer below, hidden knowledge, because this stuff that I'm exposing right now is occult knowledge. Gematria, occult knowledge. All the Kabbalah is occult knowledge, which the Masons have, or at least and really the true core Masons truly understand and have. And of course the Jesuits who operated out of the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church has had the knowledge of Kabbalah for several centuries at least. And, so just think about that. I mean, it just all this stuff with Masonry representing duality, but it's all really one. But they just tend to go with Lucifer, the hidden, because they're in secrecy, right? They're occult, hidden knowledge. So you see all that fits in. Anyways, and Lucifer, Jesus, both their names equals 74, just like Masonic does. That's why it's no coincidence. Like I said, Masons believe in at least in the innermost circle of Masonry, the Luciferians, you could even argue that they're Gnostics. They believe that God from the Bible is an evil God. And, as he demonizes knowledge in the Bible, warning Adam and Eve, don't eat from, don't take a bite from that apple on the tree. And evil God equals 74. And, speaking of knowledge of Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism. Jewish equals 74. And in Kabbalah, the subject of Gematria is 74. Occult, as this all is, occult knowledge, occult equals 74. Holy cow, that's big. And also why Luciferian equals 373, specifically in Jewish Gematria. And 373 is the 74th prime number. So, goes along with the whole thing, like I'm saying, it in the Masonic sense that Lucifer is the bringer of knowledge. And you can see how, by this, how English was constructed by this code of letters, numbers, or excuse me, yeah, letters, words, and numbers. And English also equals 74. All these 74s that I think a few more to go over, but all these 74s equate to 74 in the same cipher, in the simple English cipher, and not coincidentally, the words simple and English, like I just said, English 74, but simple also equals 74 in the simple English cipher. It's just hilarious. It's all so synced up. And in addition, the phrase the core equals 74. And think about it, the core of the sun, how there's the core in Masonry that knows the true knowledge, and I'll get more to that soon. And, it goes with, the more you go into the sun, the core is the hottest part of the sun, but I'll talk about that more. Speaking of the sun, solis is a Spanish word for sun. Solis also equals 74. And Masons, sun worshippers, and, they're owned by what I would say are, or even more so, sun worshippers, the Jesuits. Sun worshippers, or just really the Catholic Church as a whole, but sun worshippers equals 147, along with Freemason 147. As they hold hidden knowledge 147, and like I said, the G in the middle of their logo stands for gnosis, which means knowledge, or is said to stand for gnosis, which means knowledge. And this brings me back to the point. It's like Masonry is like a model, in a sense, of the sun, literally. And this is just kind of my theory. I have my own little theories in this decode too, and they make sense. Like, think about it, Freemasonry as a whole as a representation of the sun, because the core of Masonry holds its true knowledge, like I said, and the more layers you peel back of Masonry, the more you get to the truth. Like, hypothetically, if you were to get into the deeper and deeper into the layers of the sun, you would eventually get to the core, which would be the hottest. So it's like, you see what I'm saying there, and I really do think they modeled, and really probably all these secret societies, the more you climb the ranks in there, the more that's why there's degrees. I mean, and think about that. That just actually popped in my head. I didn't even think about that. And that's hilarious. Now that I just think about that in real time. Think about the degrees of Masonry. Like, degrees, the sun. Wow, that's great. How hot it is, we measure in degrees. Oh, wow. I'm going to have to put this in after that. That just came to me in real time. Wow. It all makes so much sense now. That theory is definitely true. But yeah, I just speculated that because it just makes sense to me. And, I really considered it. Wow. And then not only that, you get to the 33rd, how Jesus is a representation of the sun, or is a personification, I should say, of the sun. He died allegedly at age 33. You reach 33 degrees in Masonry. That's the highest degree in or Scottish Rite side of Freemasonry. And, degrees, again, the sun, how we measure how hot it is outside. 33, Jesus died the age he died at. Just personification of the sun. Wow, I just put all that full circle together in real time. I didn't even think about why they're called degrees, but it makes so much sense because, wow, Masonry truly is modeled after the sun. That's crazy. Anyways, moving on. And, to continue, this theory of mine seems to be supported with the fact that how we were just talking about 147, the phrase the sun's core also equals 147. The Masons, very calculated, like I said earlier. You'll hear Rick Ross suggest in the song. And that's why, numerical also equals 147, as, look at what we're showing. How numerical this all is. Language to the calendar to just everything full circle. Is numerical. And then having said all this, going back to the example with Rick Ross in the song, but Rick Ross's birthday is 147 days before the anniversary of the establishment of modern Freemasonry. So it's like, it just couldn't be more clear. And Jay-Z, who is a famous Freemason, there's a picture out there of him in a ceremony, I guess you would say, or whatever. He was also featured on the song, like I said earlier, and this song Freemason released 137 days before Jay-Z's birthday. And Masonic compass and square, the degrees of the Masonic compass and square added up. They add up to 137. And this connects to Scottish Rite Freemasonry, which is a phrase equating to 137. So, yeah. And Rick Ross, his rap name, equals 59, just like Freemasonry and solar energy. And modern Freemasonry was created 59 years before the United States became a country, officially. So, but now to get into the 201s, as this all goes back to the Jesuits, who control modern-day Freemasonry. So, Rick Ross's song Freemason came out with his album, Teflon Don, or however you say that. It was never released as a single, so it came out with the album on July 20th, the 201st day of the year. And we know that's the big number with the Jesuit order, as the Jesuit order equals 201. And the song came out on a Tuesday. Tuesday is the day of the planet Mars, Mars 201 in Jewish Gematria. And in a nutshell, you know how the Jesuits are a Roman sun cult. Roman equals 201 in Jewish Gematria, and Apollo equals 201 in Jewish Gematria. And Apollo is the sun god in Roman mythology. It's laughable. Roman mythology equals 201. So yeah, and having said all this, there is the 28th degree in Scottish Rite Freemasonry is called, and I just found this out recently, is called Knight of the Sun. Knight of the Sun equates to 201. And why I'll save that for a minute. And in this degree, you learn about the sun and the planets. So yeah, but they stress in this degree to primarily focus on studying the sun. And what do the Jesuits do? The Jesuits super fixated on the sun. So you just see, and they all regard many secret societies, but specifically the Jesuits and Masons they say that the sun is the ultimate deity. That's why, which you can't really argue that, but, yeah, that's why everything's so centered around the sun. Heliocentrism, literally the planets centered around the sun. Heliocentrism equals 201. So, yeah, it's all synced up. And it's really amazing to me, even now, and I've been into this knowledge for a while now, how synced up it is. Anyways, continuing. Why I think this is the 28th degree of Scottish Rite Masonry is because Apollo and Sun God equate to 28 in the same cipher. So, and along with temple equals 28 in that same cipher. And temple is a match with Apollo in all the base ciphers, 4 base ciphers. And what this says to me, why I bring this up with the temple thing, is because it's like they're saying the sun is within, because what do you have to, you go within and, you get all this knowledge and you become enlightened, sun. You see how all that fits in. And many have said, many religions and stuff, spiritual teachings and such tell you that, the sun is within. You are your temple. You don't need a church, an ashram, this, that. You don't need to go anywhere. You are all you need. So it fits in with that. And so to me, temple and Apollo matching in all the base ciphers is saying that the sun is within, and go decode sun within. And it's a phrase equating to about 2 concretely, but another for 3 Masonic numbers. And I guess I can bring it up. But yeah, so sun within does equal 47, the big Masonic number. And also 137, add up the degrees in the Masonic compass and square, you get 137. And then just the compass alone, again, 47 degrees. And then it also equals 52, Kabbalah 52, but I'm not going to get into that because we haven't really discussed that much. But yeah, that connects to Freemasonry as well. And then, yeah, just to elaborate more on this, I think this phrase really just, symbolizes or means that there's infinite potential within all of us, and all you need to do is go within to be enlightened. Simple as that. So yeah. And going back to the number 201, as I'm exposing how the knowledge of Kabbalah is being used ritualistically with Gematria, and Gematria is within Kabbalah. Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism, like I said earlier. Jewish mysticism, a phrase equating to 201. So, and, the Jesuits are Jews that converted to Catholicism. So, I mean, all this is just too synced up. So, yeah, and moving on to the opening line, I'll bring it up again, opening line in Freemason, Rick Ross's song. But actually, before I get to that, I just want to point out something I found right before I started recording this. This song, or no, excuse me, this album that the song came out on, this album of his, Teflon Don, was his 4th studio album. And I don't think that's an accident because 4th equals 74. Okay? And it was the 4th day of creation that the sun was produced by God. Right? Along with the moon and the stars, aka the heavens, and it even goes on to say that these heavenly spheres, where it talks about them, it says they were not actually fashioned on this day. They were created on the 1st day and merely assigned their places in the heavens on the 4th. Okay, but yeah, it talks about the heavens. What does heavens equal? 74. So it's you see there how that's scripted, that's synced up, and I don't, considering that, I don't think it's an accident. This was on his 4th studio album. So yeah, and the date it came out on, I mean, Jesus, it really couldn't be more scripted. It really couldn't. But then to continue, notice how in this line, his opening line of Freemason, he says, "This is for my soldiers that see the sun at midnight." Again, like I said, mentioned it before, but he brings up he mentions soldiers, right? And the first three letters of that, I want you to focus on soul. NASA calls a solar day, they call it a soul, just for short. And also later in the song, he mentions King Solomon. Again, Solomon begins with soul. And this isn't an accident, because this word soul is a tribute to the sun. With another example, the solar deity of ancient Rome, Sol Invictus. It's too synced up. It really is. Sol in Roman tradition has actually been used to refer to the sun. And I guess you could say more specifically all the sun gods, such as Apollo, Phoebus, Helios, and, like I said, Sol Invictus. But it doesn't matter their name. It doesn't matter. They're all personification of the sun, like Jesus, Lucifer. It just symbolizes the sun. That's it. It doesn't matter the name. It's the sun, the sun, the sun, the sun. Because Jesus is not the Son of God or the Son of Man. It's the S-U-N. Worship on Sunday, such and such. There's so much I could go into. It's actually unreal. And really, throughout this whole decode, I tried to stop myself more and more because there's just so much information. I ended up finding a pretty good stopping point to not go on too much. But I could continue to go on and elaborate and make things more clear. But, yeah, so, like I said, Jesuits, Masons, the sun is the ultimate deity to them, a symbol of enlightenment. So, and then another thing connecting the soul, we have the Gregorian calendar is a solar calendar, which came out of the Catholic Church and was put out in the time, shortly, I think a few decades after the Jesuits were created. So you see who's behind that, pushing the solar calendar out there, the Gregorian calendar. And as we know, the calendar is synced with the language, and the English language, having said that, English language comes from the Catholic Church. And it proves it, why I showed examples of soul at the beginning of the words that I did. I mean, it's all too obvious. Alright, I just got done recording the video. I decided I'll go over the lyrics to his song. So, we already went over the intro. But I mean, look what he says, and this just goes along with all that I was saying. He says, we lost the symbols and speak or he doesn't say but speak encrypted codes. Okay? I mean, codes, come on. Cryptic codes, I just cracked them, we know what was up, and then he goes on to say, I embark on life, my path is all math. I mean, what were we showing? Exactly. I understand the codes these hackers couldn't crack. Well, I just did, at least to a significant degree. And then he brings up Solomon's seal. Like I said, he brings up Solomon, King Solomon. Then he says, free agents, we faster. I feel like that's, in reference to their intelligence. I mean, then that's probably, you can't really disagree if that's what he meant by that. These people in secret societies are smarter. I mean, you can't really dispute that. And then he says, hold on. I find that funny, he said free agents, agent 47, Freemason 40, big 47 number. I said that backwards. 47 is a big Freemasonry number. Oh man. Yeah, and then let's see what else he says. He says build pyramids, period, we masters. Um, a lot of great thinkers and a lot of great inventors. All white mansion, child of God. All black diamonds times. See, that was a clever thing. All white mansion, I'm the child of God. All black diamonds, white, black, because that's their symbolism as well. Black and white, the black and white checkerboard. Um, you know what? I'll just, I guess I'll really break it down. I found a while back that black and white 113. You see that? And then look at this Scottish Rite, as in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Oops, wait. No, just Scottish, as in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Scottish 113. Well, then, in verse 2, Jay-Z goes on and he says, he mentions Lucifer, and, we just went over that. Well, then Jay-Z even goes on to say, Lord, forgive me, I never would have made it without sin. So that just tells you, when they sign up for this stuff, they got to do stuff they don't really want to do. So, and that is to a degree selling out. I mean, it's just the facts. So yeah, that's all I wanted to go over. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm out. Peace.